Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can download our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the word spot and media. Judges this morning staged a protest in front of the Supreme Court in Kingston to express disappointment in the Prime Minister's appointment of Brian Sykes as acting Chief Justice. Justice Sykes was appointed to act to replace retired Chief Justice Zela McCalla. That led to outrage from the parliamentary opposition, the Jamaican Bar Association and civil society groups. Our reporter Herman Green was on location and filed this report.
A number of cases were slated for 10 o'clock this morning at the Supreme Court and the Appeal Court here in downtown Kingston. But from what we understand, all of those were put off because no judges were available. Now, the reason given in some courtrooms is that it was administrative reasons, administrative issues to be cleared up. What we understand, however, is that the judges are in a meeting, basically a protest action for a number of issues. We spoke to a number of lawyers who were leaving this morning, having come into Kingston for cases, and they gave us their reaction to what happened this morning.
When I came on the building, I was advised by the clerk that the judges are having an all-island judges meeting at 10 o'clock, and therefore there's a possibility that the matter would not proceed. But in my matter, I had an inclination that it would not have proceeded in any event, even though it was present. So I went over to the court's office and I spoke with the person who sets the dates for trials, and I was provided with a new court date for my client to come back to.
There was no judge present. I came in and I was told that the matters will be ruled for tomorrow. And so we'd have to come back tomorrow. And that was it.
This is an all-island issue in terms of all the cases set for today being pushed back. How do you think that will impact the whole justice system?
It will inconvenience a lot of people, especially persons who have waited for some time for their trial. Some matters that are actually for trial will probably continue tomorrow, so they will probably come tomorrow and start their trial tomorrow and find another way to make up for the lost time. I think provisions will be put in place for persons who are in custody and persons who are on bail, who are charged with criminal offences, that they will come back another date.
No, we understand that some cases were put off for tomorrow, others a date was not given. But we'll continue to monitor what's happening here and keep you updated through the course of the day. Reporting from downtown Kingston at the Supreme Court, I'm Herman Green, TVJ News.
Thank you very much, Herman. Meanwhile, Justice Minister Delroy Chuck has responded to the action taken by the judges. Minister Chuck says it's inappropriate for the judges to have a meeting at this time as it creates great inconvenience. Mr. Chuck says it is not for him to direct the judges on how to operate, but the timing is inappropriate.
It was quite inappropriate to have a meeting at 10, which created great inconvenience to users of the court. That is why I said a more appropriate response could have been to have the meeting later in the afternoon after you go to court and adjourn the matters.
Minister Chuck says he has not received any confirmation that the meeting being held by the judges is in relation to Brian Sykes being appointed to act as Chief Justice.
Some time ago, she had, well, in fact, only last week, she had asked me for the present state of salary negotiations for the parish court judges, and I had responded to her very promptly that the matter is with the Minister of Finance for settlement.
Meanwhile, retired Chief Justice Zela McCalla has outlined several new strategies implemented by the Justice Ministry, which she says have been helping to reduce the backlog of court cases. She was addressing a recent panel discussion hosted by the National Integrity Action. Details in this report.
Retired Chief Justice Zela McCalla says more resources are needed to continue the upgrade of the court system. However, she notes that the age-old problem of finding enough jurors is being addressed with the Justice Ministry allowing judge-alone cases.
Reduction in the number of jurors required in non-capital murder cases, as the availability of a sufficient number of jurors to try cases was often an issue. This, of course, caused cases to go into backlog. We as well had an intervention in respect of majority verdicts in non-capital cases. Judge-alone trials are now in effect with the consent of the accused. Reduction in exempt categories of jurors have also been introduced.
She says the hiring of new judges and the training of jurors should also help to reduce the processing time for cases.
Ongoing training in customer service for all our court staff, all geared towards greater access to justice and serving the citizens of Jamaica. International human rights training has also been done. There are accessibility guidelines for court staff who deal with vulnerable groups such as children, persons who, of course, have certain disabilities, training of judicial officers and attorneys at law in child justice guidelines.
As for reducing the case backlog, Mrs. McCallum says the Director of Public Prosecutions has been reading out old cases, and there are other strategies.
Criminal case management, of course, was introduced so as to have cases tried on issues in dispute in order to save time and expenses. Case progression officers have been introduced recently in our courts so as to liaise with various stakeholders in an effort to speed up the trial of cases.
But she points out that the problem can still return if there are more cases coming in than those being cleared. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Director of Public Prosecutions DPP Paulo Llewellyn is encouraging the government to amend the Court of Appeal Act. Speaking at the recent panel discussion hosted by National Integrity Action, Ms. Llewellyn says giving the prosecution the right to appeal will help restore confidence in the justice system. She adds it will also ensure accountability within the judicial process.
If there was this right of appeal by the prosecution, it would, out of necessity, make judicial officers even more careful than they usually are in respect of the type of research and what their rulings are underpinned by in terms of the depth of that research. So it would have a very good effect on judicial accountability.
That the right of appeal has been successful in other Caribbean countries and will be beneficial to Jamaica.
Within the Commonwealth, the trend has been to allow the prosecution a right of appeal in cases of serious offences, where fresh and compelling new evidence was found, where the acquittal was tainted, or where it became clear that key witnesses had given false evidence.
In other news, the candidates for both major political parties are being nominated today for by-elections in Northwest St. Andrew and the Norman Gardens Division in East Kingston and Port Royal. Approximately 50,000 persons are set to vote in the upcoming by-elections slated for March 5. Our reporter Vashan Brown has been tracking the events and now joins us live. Vashan? We're trying to connect.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Now, the PNP's candidate, Keisha Hale, was nominated sometime after 11 this morning. She was flanked by party supporters and officials of the PNP, including the party's president, Dr. Peter Phillips, Chairman Jackson, as well as General Secretary Julian Robinson. Now, the PNP says it's confident of victory despite the constituency's history. The former member of parliament, Derek Spitz, had been leading this constituency for nearly 30 years. Another issue that's been dominating the news, certainly for the past few days, possible victimization of Keisha Hale. The PNP is sticking to that point. This follows information that the Education Ministry scheduled a meeting with the PNP candidate, who is also a school principal, to discuss the findings of an audit at her school. The PNP is still maintaining that Ms. Hale is being victimized. We'll continue to, of course, follow that development. Now, the JLP's Dr. Nigel Clark is expected to be nominated sometime after 1 today. He's also expected to be accompanied by the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, and we'll continue to monitor developments here in Northwest St. Andrew. Andrea?
Thank you very much, Vashan. Our reporter Vashan Brown covering nomination day activities in the constituency of Northwest St. Andrew and the Norman Gardens Division. The police are calling on the Clarendon Municipal Corporation to immediately remove the bus park in front of the police headquarters in Maypen. Acting head of the Clarendon Police Division, Superintendent David White, says persons are using the bus park to track the movements of the police and it is thwarting crime-fighting efforts. TVJ's Shamela Mitchell reports.
Park has been at that spot long before the police headquarters was located from Main Street to its present location. This is where taxi operators who ply the Yorktown, Gimimibet, Milk River and other routes park in the bustling town centre.
Remove the bus park from in front of the Maypet police station.
Superintendent White says many operations have been foiled and rendered unsuccessful as a result of the park. He says persons sit in the park under the umbrella to watch the police.
When we pick up a couple of them, they can tell you every undercover vehicle and license plate and color coming from that police station. When we pick up people, they can tell us how many police vehicles leave, where they go for an operation, and they can follow that type of behavior of the police, how we operate within a space.
Superintendent White says a request was made from 2016 to remove the bus park from in front of the police station. He says this needs to be addressed with urgency.
Last time I was told that it is a matter of funding and what you get, but it is law and effectiveness, and we're asking you, councillors, mayor, please treat with this. Our intel will tell you that a lot of information is coming out right at the bus park and makes us ineffective.
Meanwhile, the mayor of Maypen, Winston Maraj, says the Clarendon Municipal Corporation will be meeting next Thursday to discuss the matter. Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, Superintendent White says poor road conditions in several sections of the parish is hampering their ability to do their job. He says some of the most dangerous communities have no roads.
I came here, I spoke about places like Farm Effortville, how large it is, the road, there's no road there, those are river track, riverbed that we have to go in.
He adds that criminals continue to enforce a code of silence in troubled communities and persons are afraid to speak with the police.
If they feel that you're a police informer, they feel that you talk to the police too much, they come out of the bushes, they take out people and that sort of thing. When we are in, people are silent. We're able to get our people in. We're able to gather our intelligence, we're able to carry out operation, or whether there are some main perpetrators in this space, we'll continue to pursue until we get them.
In news overseas, 200 body parts were found strewn across a snowy field near Moscow at the site of a Russian plane crash that killed all 71 persons on board. For the details, we join the CNN.
Investigators hope a recovered flight data recorder will help them figure out what caused a deadly plane crash. A surveillance camera captured the moment the jet came down, killing all 71 people on board. You can see a big explosion there in the distance.
The plane had just taken off from Moscow to the city of Orsk when it disappeared from radar. Investigators say the crash site scattered throughout a radius.
We do have some updates that I want to share with you. On the one hand, it is that flight data recorder that they found, hoping to get some information from that. Not clear whether they've been able to find the cockpit voice recorder, which of course is the other part of what we call the black box, which sort of measures the data of planes and shows what's been going on in the cockpit. Now, the Russian authorities are saying that they are going to be working in this area for at least a week on this recovery operation. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with forensics as well. One other interesting point that they've made is that they've apparently found something like an impact site. They say that there's a crater that's about 25 feet wide and a little less than 5 feet deep that they've found. And of course, one of the questions that we had been asking shortly after this plane crashed was whether or not it crashed while it was intact or whether or not it might have disintegrated in midair for whatever reason. So it certainly could offer a clue as to what happened there. But again, of course, this investigation is still very much in its early stages as this plane crashed less than 24 hours ago.
And in sports, the Jamaica Scorpions will be looking for revenge in the Regional Super 50 as they take on the Leeward Islands Hurricanes at the Coolidge Cricket Ground in Antigua on Monday. The last time both teams met, the Hurricanes defeated the Scorpions by 23 runs. The Scorpions sit third in Group B on 10 points, while the Hurricanes are fourth on 9 points. Presently, Kent County Cricket Club leads the group on 17 points, and the Guyana Jaguars are second on 13 points. A win for the Scorpions would put them in the top 2 with 3 games to go. After facing the Hurricanes, the Jamaican-based franchise will play Kent on Wednesday, the Jaguars on Friday, and the United States next week, Sunday. And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Do remember to join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the News, Sports and Production, afternoon.